Hi there, it's Kelly O'Connell, author and attorney, and I had something really bother me a few days ago, and I thought I would do a little quick podcast on it and see if maybe you agreed, and if not, tell me why. Don't forget to subscribe and give a thumbs up to the message. I found that if you don't do that, then most people never even think about it, which is human nature. But anyway, I heard that this guy Pete Buttigieg, whatever his name is, where's he from? Indiana? I don't know that much about this guy. I just remember that he ran for office, ran for president. He was out of the closet. He was a military guy. He was married to a man, and kind of new territory to bring in somebody like that to the cabinet. Sounded like a good idea at the time, maybe to the Democrats, and now it's just turned out that he's been on leave. And the interesting thing is that, they've only been in office going on 10 months. And, this guy has been out for 2 months, which is just kind of surreal. Now, it bothers me because he's the transportation secretary, and we've got this huge problem of getting these ships unloaded in the harbor. And if it was me, especially with his military background, I would be doing anything I could. I was joking with a friend, why not, because they don't have enough people because the government's paying people to stay home, why not send out low risk prisoners, people that are not in, top prisons, level 6 or whatever, people that are in 1, 2, or 3 level prisons, kind of white collar crime or non-violent crimes, and let them work in these boats unloading, and for every day they do it, they get a day off their sentence. So they would get 2 for every day out. They'd get 2. They'd get the day that they're there off their sentence, obviously, and then they'd get an extra day and get a couple, get 10 or 20,000 of these people out there. Now, it doesn't seem like the politicians ever think this way, but or how about military? How about asking the National Guard to spend a couple of months rotating platoons in and out to just help unload these ships? Now, maybe that's not appropriate. Maybe neither one of them is. But take some of the COVID money, and instead of paying people to stay home, pay employees a little bit extra on top of what they're going to get paid by these companies to do it. But we could figure out a way to do it, and instead this guy has stayed home for 2 months. Is he sick? No. Is he depressed? No. Is he going through a crisis? Is his family going through a crisis? No. Does his husband have cancer? No. You know what it is? He and his husband adopted a baby. And so now Buttigieg, or however you pronounce it, is spent several months on maternity leave. And this really just boiled my blood. Number one, he is not on the clock for having a kid because he's not related to this kid. He and his husband can't have a kid, obviously. And so they decided to adopt a child. And when they did it, it was right in the middle of this event. And they didn't, they didn't sacrifice, didn't say this is not a good time to have this child, or we need to hire. Another thing they could have done, he's making a ton of money right now, hire some, get a female in there. The child probably would enjoy being around a female. Get a nanny to come in. But I mean, this idea that you get to stay home and watch this kid while there's this massive crisis going on. And so it just reminded me of all of the bad decisions of this administration. And you know what? When you don't put competence, when you don't put intelligence or organization or good decision making as your top priority for choosing people, if it's because of their race or their gender orientation or whatever their connection to the party, you're going to get people that are not the best. And so anyway, I think Transport Secretary I'm going to call him Buttigieg because I can't pronounce it. Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg, his side-splitting symbol of woke Democrat slapstick. And it's doing this stupid thing, and it's like something out of a comedy, except we don't have comedies anymore, right? Because everybody's woke and you're not allowed to make fun of people. But it's just so, it was an arbitrary decision to bring this kid into their house. Now, maybe the kid was, let's say, worst case scenario, he was being abused, he was abandoned, he was forgotten, and they had to give him a home. There's other people out there that would have given him a home. Number one. Number two, he didn't have to stay out on 2 months of maternity leave. His body doesn't need to recover. Now you might say, well, a lot of times husbands will stay home, but for 2 months. And why doesn't the husband, his better half, stay home? I mean, I'm sure he's probably staying home too. So it's a study in self-indulgence. But it's like these people are not serious. Wait until you're out of office before you have a kid. It's 4 years, but the guy's in his 30s, isn't he? He looks like he's 25, but anyway, it riled me up because it's another sign that these people are not serious and they don't care about disasters. These people believe, because Marxism teaches this, all that matters is your intentions. Your actual effects, the impact of your ideas doesn't matter as long as you have a good socialist reason for doing it. And that is killing America. So I would say in an unintentional comedy masterstroke, Transport Secretary Peter Pan spent the last 2 months with his newborn child he adopted with his husband, and nobody noticed. That's another embarrassing thing. Nobody even noticed that this guy wasn't around. He looks like a teenager hanging out. Now, one kid assumed because it's a newborn, they didn't know the date of its birth, and it may not be as brand new as they think it is, but it's just the fact that they would do this while all of these containers are just sitting there in the ocean outside of these big cities. Now, you want to know who's a conservative? Bill Kristol, who owned the Weekly Standard, didn't he, until it was shut down because it was filled with anti-Trumpers and people weren't buying the magazine anymore. And his parents are extremely famous in the conservative movement. And his mom, I can't remember her name now, but when I saw her name, I was kind of amazed. A really brilliant historian and writer, Gertrude Himmelfarb, I think it is. So now here's my questioning. You got to imagine this guy who already looks like a kid. He looks like the kid from the guy on the cover of Mad Magazine, Alfred E. Newman. Who me? And I want to know, is this guy home with a prosthetic breast full of milk, feeding his child while listening to Kenny Loggins Return to Pooh Corner? Is he fantasizing he'd just given birth? Seriously, did this guy think he just gave birth? Maybe he's reliving the cult classic adoption film Born Free, which, if you know the plot to it, this man and woman come down to help villagers from getting their goats slaughtered from a lion. They ended up shooting the lion and the mate, and so then there were three lions left over, babies, and so they adopted him and everything. Maybe he's taken part in that in his mind. Now, did Pete develop psychosomatic stretch marks that he has got to get treatment for? What is it? Vitamin E oil and maybe some African shea butter to smooth into to these psychological stretch marks. In any event, it's not clear why a non-birthing cabinet secretary would need several months of home rest, but while this disaster's going on, he has to stay out. Can you imagine Winston Churchill doing that? But it fits the motif established by Nancy Pelosi, who refused to return during the Kabul crisis, preferring Northern California's fundraising harvest, where she, took in some ungodly amount of money for her Democrats, and supposedly she's getting ready to retire since this bill that she's been working on is blown up in her face. Now, none of AOC's 21 bills ever left the committee for a vote, and what does that tell me? Number one, she's either not making good bills or people don't like her and they don't want to help her out with her bills. But she's signed on to other people's bills. Even though they say she's the leader of the House, she's incompetent. Now, neither Secretary State Blinken, General Milli Vanilli, or Defense Secretary Austin reported for duty in Afghanistan. Everybody knows that now. Now, Border Czar Kamala, she only showed up to work one day in 6 months. She did one photo op at the border. And even Joe Biden hasn't shown up a single day in his 10-month reign as president. And if he tried to, he'd say, well, they got mad at me. Who's they? It's the people who tell Joe what to do. But Secretary Peter Pan gets no special commendation for his completely self-indulgent and frankly obtuse, I originally said mentally ill, decision. He arbitrarily took a maternity leave for a child that he arbitrarily adopted, that he is not related to. He doesn't have, a swollen belly or anything. Peter was not convalescing after the birth, although he got on TV and he said, this guy, what's his name? Tucker Carlson is making fun of me and he has no idea. But of course, Tucker Carlson has kids and he knows exactly what happens. But did he suffer a psychological pregnancy called a pseudosciasis? Pseudosciasis sounds like pseudoscientist. Is Buttigieg a pseudoscientist? Further, how could Secretary Peter Pan be so cavalier about a genuine U.S. crisis, having so recently attained the position to not rush back and problem solve during this disaster? I mean, this is and especially they want to fire all of the people that are working for transportation companies of 100 people or more who don't have COVID shots. It's just, there's no doubt that they want to destroy something by doing this. Now, my best guess is that Peter saw that writing on the wall. He saw the disaster that the administration had become, knew he couldn't do anything about it, and decided that laying in bed all day or changing diapers was a heck of a lot more attractive than dealing with the daily White House failures. And it's got to feel like in the White House, don't you think, a insane asylum, a sanitarium, people running back and forth screaming with their hands in the air. Now, if he still harbors ambitions for election after dealing and being tied with this administration, I thought of a good analogy, Waiting for Godot. It's a play by Samuel Beckett, and the entire time they're waiting for Godot, and they're waiting for God, really, and God never shows up. And it's kind of an existential study in the hopelessness of mankind. So that'd be a great model for him, and maybe he's living it out right now. They're also waiting for a leader, and the leader never showed up. Now, one can't blame Secretary Peter Pan, but if he had any, for doing that, but if he had any integrity, he'd resign his position in a fit of disgust instead of milking the system for months while dithering on the home front. Now, I'm ending this with the balls in your court here, Peter. So, gosh, guys, it's so discouraging to see this type of thing, and there's never an end to it. There's no end to, there's just really no end to all the crap that these guys are pulling, and what is the purpose of it? What's the reason? So anyway, I will do a real quick bit of weird news here for you. All right, so the first story is about a lady who had put in for a job in 2003, and she just got her application back 8 years later. It's Zoe Johnson. She was stunned when a message arrived into her LinkedIn box, breaking the news. It says, Dear Sir, Madam, I'm sorry to trouble you. Would you be so kind to let me know whether you have any job vacancies available at the moment? That's in 2013. And then in 2021, let's put it that way. Hi, Zoe. Thanks for reaching out, but I'm not interested. 8 years later. So, anyway, Zoe is a very attractive young lady still. Should have put a picture in there. But Bosnian man builds rotating house as monument of love for his wife. Vojan Kuzik, 72, says the home's front door also rotates, so if his wife spots unwanted guests heading our way, she can spin the house and make them turn away. And to know what it looks like, it's on a square of bricks. They must be pretty good bricks. And it's just kind of sitting on there, so I don't know how it works. But the house in Serbia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, was designed and built by 72-year-old Vojan Kuzik, and with a green facade and red metal roof, it can rotate a full circle to satisfy his wife's shifting desires as to what she wants to look out the window at. He says, quote, after I reached an advanced age and after my children took over the family business, I finally had enough time to task myself with granting my wife her wish, which for some reason was to be able to turn the house around. They should have stayed in a travel trailer, in my opinion. So, anyway, nutty squirrel leaving 42 gallons of nuts in man's Chevy Avalanche. Bill Fisher found the black walnuts, and in every nook and cranny of the truck, including the engine compartment. And this is in Fargo, North Dakota. And so he went in and they collected them all. And he came home from a 4-day work trip earlier this month and discovered that his truck had been filled with black walnuts, each roughly the size of a lime. That is astounding. And so, I mean, can you imagine how many nuts these critters bury? He said, I had to pull off the fenders and clean out the walnuts and thought I had them all and took it down the road, turned the corner and found one rolling down the windshield where the wipers go. And, all right, one more story for you, or maybe two. There's two here. Harambe gorilla statue installed opposite of Wall Street's charging bull. You remember Harambe was the gorilla that the lady dropped her child, and it fell down inside of the cage, or the area for the gorillas. And Harambe picked it up and was kind of taking it along, and nobody could tell if he was going to harm it or not, so they had to come in and shoot him. Well, now we have a 7-foot statue of Harambe the gorilla on October 18th, and it's been put there, and it is dedicated to putting the needs and welfare of human beings first. Now, why Harambe as the face of needs for humans and the needs and welfare for humans? And they also put 10,000 bananas around the charging bull, and he's gone bananas. The owner of the company who built this, he's expanding on the disparity of wealth between the top 1% of the population and the rest of the country. And one more story. A guy saw a rattlesnake slithering under his home. I don't even know if he thought it was a rattlesnake, but he called up a rattlesnake rustler. And Al Wolf, a Sonoma County reptile rescue, responded to a North Bay, which I believe is near San Francisco, home. and looked under the house to discover dozens of rattlesnakes, pulled them out and found out there were 92 rattlers under there, and they said it's because of the drought that they're sticking together like that. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have a great day. I spotted my whole existence to hang out with you here, and I'll bring you something tomorrow. Have a great day. Hit that subscribe, hit that thumbs up. Knockout Podcast, Kelly O'Connell. Chat.